Hello and most welcome to today's lecture. What will be the subject today? It will be a completely new way of looking at artificial intelligence. My subtitle is Mechanical Intelligence. Why is that? Well, the Swiss researcher Rolf Pfeifer has advanced a completely and utter different way of looking at intelligent and learning behavior. And what he has managed to achieve, there will be some links in the description, is that moving things, so-called mobiles, can actually learn without an inkling of a CPU or memory. So, in the beginning, I was just shortly want to give you a little hint what that could be about instead. Could it be that actually movement is also the learning? So, it is not that you move and then you learn. Something gets stored within the head as abstracts, ones and zeros, or something similar. Could it be that the actual physical status of you as a learner, doer, is the most important thing? Or maybe, as Pfeifer is hinting at, the only important thing. What we have today is actually two camps. The ones who are looking for a sort of an abstract way of seeing of intelligence that includes the digitalized algorithmical computization of mind or intelligence and a learned behavior. The second one, which is much less famous, almost unknown, that is the mechanical intelligence. It could be that your actual physical existence, that you exist, that you have limbs, members of your body, that you have a head, that you have the capacity to see, hear, smell, sense, feel, perceive. Maybe it starts there instead. And to have a little chronological perspective, it's very easy to understand why we've gone into the path of digitalization and algorithmization. That is because that the model, the metaphor for intelligence or the soul or the human being has always been some sort of abstract thing. When we compared a human being to a clock, or later a steam engine, it wasn't the mechanical features of the clock or the steam engine per se. It was more the idea of the steam engine. That it was in some sort causal, and that there was an often called an abstract pattern, and that turned out to be a very nice segue into going to modern times, and thereby we have the computer. Rolf Pfeifer seemed to disagree, and he shares this view with some Japanese researchers. It seemed that most of Japan is actually going some other way. Could it be that they do not share the same history of metaphorical development? I would like to say they don't have the same ideas of what intelligence is at all, or learning, or anything else like that. I think that is quite plausible. So what we're talking about instead is more in the side of embodied cognition. And I like the mobiles that he constructed because they move about, and when they bump into something, they actually move away from that object. Nothing computed, no algorithm, it is in the actual limbs of the mobile. Isn't that amazing in itself? That is called embodied cognition. You can also talk about morphological computation. And here I think there is a grand point. If you have a limb or if you have something actually physical, the computational power of that, if you still want to apply the model of computation and algorithms, that is enormous because it is fractal. It is actually infinite. It's infinite in a way that a computer, no matter how big it is, cannot perform today. Maybe in the far-reach future, a quantum computer could do that thing, but today it will not be possible for yet another couple of 100 years. The enormity, the potential for computation, if you like to use that word, is enormous when it comes to have your own living body. Something that moves about, beats everything, just by its sheer complexity. And think about this as well. It is not only limbs, it could actually be the neurons in the brain or the nerves in your body, because they are also physical. So instead of going, let me explain this again, going in the old way, saying a neuron is a sort of a token, a symbol for something that is abstract, 1 or 0, or something similar. We say, we have the neuron here, that's it. Its physical status, its extension, its width, its broadness, that's the most important thing. And its situation, whereabouts is it? So place is actually very important in this. And whereas in the old thinking, place doesn't matter, size doesn't matter, no matter what people say, size doesn't matter, nothing matters because somehow we left our bodies. And this comes to a really big feature in modern thinking, and this is the idea that intelligence is somehow not in the body. A traditional thinking that it goes way back. It goes all the way back to a philosopher who once upon a time visited Sweden and died at the castle in Stockholm, forced by Queen Christina to race 4 o'clock in the morning or at night in a cold castle, and he got pneumonia. Well, that philosopher was no one less than René Descartes. Descartes claimed he was pre-clock even before the metaphor clock has advanced, or even the idea of a steam engine. Isn't that amazing in itself? He said that there were 2 different substances. One was res extensa, the other one was res cogitans. No, says Rolf Pfeifer. Why would the world be made up of 2 substances? Why on earth? I know it has a long tradition, but I object to say, I refuse to acknowledge an idea that is so otherworldly. Why would there even be things in the world? There is a reason for things being constructed in a certain way. Whereas in the usual thinking, how my body look and where I'm positioned and how I stand has no role whatsoever, or maybe just a minor role. Maybe it could be that standing on one leg is a bit more uncomfortable, but it doesn't affect my cognition or my ability to learn. Wrong, 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 says Rolf Pfeifer. You and your physical makeout decides. Instead of neglecting the physical world, which I dislike, which is a very modern trend, acknowledge it. See what it possesses. See what it brings forward. So we have a very, very long tradition, which is sort of, because of practical reason, is questioned. So we go from something that is very complex, unnecessary complex, the idea that we first have this substance that doesn't seem to have any reason for its existence, matter. Matter has only raison d'être because of what it can do in an abstract way, computation algorithm. So this is put into quotation mark or parenthesis or something like that, or both. It's made to be less important. The ability to have a 1 or a 0. So the whole physical world that we move about to, we bump into, the one we're standing on, our very bodies have no influence into the world at all. And that was exactly the point that René Descartes made. Let's try this instead. An embodied worldview. We have bodies. There is a reason for that. Our movement is what stores understanding. I think learning in the millennia has always been about imitating. There is a famous theory by Mythen, I'm not 100% sure how his name is pronounced, Stephen Mythen, and he says, language could have started from tool making. I like that very much. The idea that tool making is the sine qua non. You start making things, and in the making process of things, you develop language. And I would say, with language comes also thinking, the behavior that beats everything in the natural world. That is, the ability to pronounce thoughts and then ponder upon them. That is also coming from the physical thing. The ability in your throat to pronounce something, and also having lungs enough and well adapted for the production of language. I'd say that fits into a model of a natural world where we accept those things that exist and we do not deny them. They are really into the world. They participate. And there's so many philosophers who's been hinting in this direction, going away from the disembodied idea of, for instance, modern academia that claims that there is no body at all. It doesn't matter how you move about. Your handwriting, that fractal complexity of your handwriting that people been developing for millennia, that's just a whole load of nuisance. Unnecessary things that we can digitalize and instead use a computer with a hefty keyboard, preferably with colors and such stuff. I think that does not hold water at all, because we use our hands for understanding. If we take away handwriting, we take away a 2,000-year-old tradition that has shown that thinking is something inscribed on a piece of paper, parchment, or similar things. Could be a piece of stone, not so easy to write on, but still, it has to do with how you do it. Your thinking is how you do it manually. And that leads me to Japan. Why is it in Japan this other idea seemed to thrive? And this is also the place on earth where Rolf Pfeifer's idea sort of got some hold and grip, where they come to fruition. I think the reason is in Japan they never gave up the idea of using your hands, your body for understanding. They still do learning by writing. In Japanese schools you still use ink and brush to express yourself and to learn. And it's often the case still to this day with computers all over the place, this digitalized filter that takes away the embodied situation, your physical world, the denial of reality that is actually happening. They still use their hands to apply for a job because then they can see what that person can do. Because that's the most important when you do a work. What are you capable of doing? And if you're going to give an argument for this, which people usually don't do over there because it's not based on something as simple as argument, it's based on something that you do. But for the video, I'm still going to make an argument for this. And that argument could well be that when you move about, when you do something, you do the same thing as somebody is constructing, in this example with Stephen Mythen, a tool, for instance, a flint axe or a flint knife. You do the thing. It's an action. The world consists of actions. Very close also to Gibson's idea of embodied cognition as well. There is a doing about, there's a mucking about. The world is not a static thing. What would be the reason for a static world? A world that stopped moving, where there are no goals, there are no plans, there is no hope, there is no gain. I think that last model of actually defending the static is very close to the misled idea of the objective. There is a philosopher and scientist that was called Jacques Monod. He was very much into that. He had the idea that he had to obliterate himself in order to be a true scientist. He was so much into some weird Platonic abstract thinking, there's hardly any words for it. He was the most extreme. I need to take my own body away, my wants, my willing, my prestige, and everything that could actually make your body work to a more gallant and more informed way. Nobody would tell a sportsman, maybe a football player, I don't think you should feel for your football. You should not be wanting to gain anything from your football playing. Of course, that football player would move about in a less elegant, less informed way, less, might I say so, intelligent way. Because movement is intelligence. We learn through movement and we are able, in the bodily fractality, the complexity of our own body, both move and learn at the same time. It's a proven fact. Why wouldn't nature use this opportunity? Because it opens up for so much more. There's no limit, literally no limit to it. So, sportsman, footballer, somebody who's doing marathon will happen here in Gothenburg in a couple of days. People who are engaged in the arts, people who are flying to the moon, very dependent on their physical existence because you need to perform. All those things would be usually claimed to be completely unnecessary, but by somebody like Jacques Monod. I claim that science could not ever be done without you engaging 100%. I think the whole idea of a disembodied reality and that objectivity stems actually from disembodiment is absolutely wrong. I'd say it's the opposite. When something gets a low quality is when you are not engaging. This is when you are not putting your whole body, your emotions, your chest, your wants, your inner needs, whatever is inside of you into your project. Then it will be lower quality, it will be more subjectified. So actually the advice of Jacques Monod and I would say 90% of all academia today is absolutely wrong. It will lead you into the wrong direction, a direction of emotionalization and of subjectivity. If you don't move your body, if you're not active inside, you're subjective. And all facts get scrambled up because it's because of skill that you can perform something that is actually something that holds for everyone. It's an act of skill. Giving up your prestige will damage that without a doubt. So you see, Professor Rolf Pfeifer has a lot of, would you say, life lessons to give to you. The disembodiment. We spoke earlier about the Alexander technique and other ways of informing your system to work in a better way, where your wants are a sine qua non, the number one reason you can do something that works. Why would it work if you disembodied yourself? And I think my favorite example is Voltaire, who was one of the leaders in bringing in this idea of a disembodied world. Someone who didn't know what to do at all when it comes to technology. He rewrote the whole work, the magnum opus of Newton, the Principia, without knowing anything about what he was writing. He just copied without the doing thing. It doesn't get any more wrong. That is just mere, I don't have words for it. It's like, how can you even dwindle down to that low level? Well, then you don't understand anything. If you do not have it in your body to perform mechanical things, or do calculations, or do engineering, science, you are not scientists. You're not technologically equipped to understand anything, because it is in your bodily system that you learn and store things. So Voltaire never ever learned anything. He actually managed to hugely misunderstand Leibniz as well. The perfect world, what Leibniz was suggesting, was, I would say, shape universe. So a perfect constellations of the things in the universe has nothing to do with it. That constellation is in any mode better or more positive. It is just a perfect constellation. Voltaire managed not to understand that, which I think is pretty amazing. And he wrote a novel to ridicule Leibniz, the founder of one of the founders of modern science, and also the inventor of the calculus. I think that's ridiculing what you can actually do. How can you, I don't know. We've been led by amateurs in the Western world for our thinking system, at least for our philosophy. Philosophy has not managed to destroy science, but it has cut its limb off, its wings. So science cannot fly to the same extent as it used to do. It cannot move about freely, because the wings is our physical embodiment. It is also what we want, it's our neurons. Neurons is not only placeholders for some abstracted Platonic information that the philosophers like Plato, Socrates would love to hear, or for that matter Descartes and or most of the other philosophers. No, they work because they have physical shape, they have a certain way of being, not another way. And that's the most important. And today we manage to forget where we are actually standing. It's not a happenstance that you have a body and a position and a posture. And this sunken down posture, I think that's connected to some sort of irrational thinking that you think, well, I'm inside my body, my head, my mind is inside the body, and I don't know where it is. It's probably in some Platonic world. No, it is in your very movement. And it also has something really positive to bring forward. If you know that your movement can be improved on a daily basis, you as an individual can further yourself. You can become something more by making your bodily movement smoother, more elegant, more sophisticated. This is learning. Hooray for Rolf Pfeifer. Thank you very much. If there is no question, there's a question from my dear friend here, Kalle.
You can hold it. Oh yes, thank you. Hello, hello. So I want only we recommend that you watch his TED Talk, and you can find it on YouTube.
If you notice only one F.
So you put his name, for instance, Rolf Pfeifer, and then TED Zurich on YouTube, so you will find it. TED Zurich.
Very kind.
Yes. So I think the main lesson that he shows that memory is in the movement.
Oh, yeah. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I will try to put some links as well. Have a good time. Bye.